Trump and other American politicians have been claiming that Nicolas Maduro is not the legitimate president of Venezuela and that instead Juan Guaido is the legitimate leader of Venezuela. The problem with that assertion is that neither Mr. Trump nor other American politicians are substantiating their claim. American journalists have failed abysmally to challenge Mr. Trump to cite evidence under international law, to cite evidence within the Venezuelan constitution to back up his claim that Juan Guaido is the legitimate president of Venezuela. The reality is that if you were to push Mr. Trump or other members of his administration, or indeed members on Capitol Hill, then they would find it very difficult to make a case under international law or in accordance with the Venezuelan constitution to support their claim that Juan Guaido is the legitimate president of Venezuela. The truth is that Juan Guaido has no political or electoral legitimacy whatsoever. He has no legitimacy under international law, and he has no legitimacy under the Venezuelan constitution. Indeed, Juan Guaido has never won a presidential election in Venezuela. So how on earth can he be put forward as the legitimate president of Venezuela? In accordance with the Venezuelan constitution and in line with international law, Nicolas Maduro is the democratically elected president of Venezuela and is therefore the legitimate president of Venezuela. It is very easy to make grand claims, but you have to back up those claims. Of course, the Americans regard Venezuela with considerable geostrategic importance. The Americans are trying to overthrow Nicolas Maduro and install their puppet in Caracas, Juan Guaido, in order to cement America's dominant position in Latin America, because today, in 2020, the Americans have struck back in Latin America. It was only a decade or so ago when most of Latin America was governed by left-wing or socialist governments which were pursuing greater independence from the United States of America. But today, in 2020, most of Latin America now has very right-wing and very pro-American governments in place. And of course, Venezuela is an exception to that. Venezuela pursues an independent foreign policy. It has developed very cordial relations with countries such as Russia and Iran. And Venezuela has nationalized its industries and has kept its natural resources under its control. And those are the reasons, the aforementioned reasons, why the Americans are seeking to overthrow Nicolas Maduro and his government, because they want to return Venezuela to how it was before Hugo Chavez, namely a client state of Washington. And if we take a closer look at Juan Guaido, we can say that this man is not just a traitor to Venezuela, not just a traitor to the people of Venezuela, but he is simply a lackey of America. He is a servile collaborator of Washington. He cares nothing for the welfare of the ordinary Venezuelan man and women. He cares nothing about prosperity for all Venezuelans. He cares nothing about the dignity of Venezuela and the culture of Venezuela. This is a man who is guided by two things: money and power. He's the sort of person who would have no moral compunctions in selling a member of his own family, providing he would be rewarded with riches. So when we hear Donald Trump or other American politicians making that claim that Juan Guaido is the legitimate president of Venezuela, remember two things. First, he has never won an election in Venezuela. And two, the Americans never cite international law, specific areas of international law, and they never cite specific parts of the Venezuelan constitution to corroborate their claim. The reality, as I said moments ago, is that there is only one democratically elected and therefore legitimate president of Venezuela, and that is Nicolas Maduro. Juan Guaido is a traitor, he is a lackey, and he is a non-entity.